your English podcast.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got source material here that takes a deep dive into a specific kind of show, one designed for English learners called Your English Podcast. Our mission today is, well, to figure out what makes this show and its whole approach to language learning particularly effective, especially for anyone who feels like their schedule has, zero room.
Right, absolutely zero room. And the source material kicks off by highlighting the show's simplicity, its accessibility. It actually quotes the opening line. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your English podcast, the ideal spot to gradually improve your English with each episode.
That focus on gradual improvement, simple language, seems like a core principle right from the get-go.
Exactly. And what I found really interesting looking through the sources is that the show has two hosts, Alex and Nina. And one episode specifically zooms in on Nina's personal story learning English. And get this, she's a single mother of 3.
Wow. Yeah, when I read that, I immediately thought, okay, how? How on earth does someone with that kind of life manage to learn anything new? It sounds almost impossible.
It really does. And the source material paints a very clear picture of the challenges Nina faces, balancing this really demanding family life with wanting to improve her English.
It just feels like such a huge barrier for most people. So how does the podcast actually handle that?
Well, the way the source describes it is key. It's not like a lecture. It's set up as a dialogue. So Nina shares her very real struggles, her experiences, and then Alex steps in. He helps analyze things, offers potential solutions, and provides motivation.
Ah, okay. So the whole conversation is kind of structured around tackling that core problem, finding the time and energy when you feel like you have none.
Precisely.
So let's get to the real nuggets then from the source material. What were the specific strategies Nina actually used that seemed to work? I was really struck by her approach to time.
Yes, that was definitely a highlight. The source details how Nina would wake up incredibly early, like 5:33 or 6:00 a.m., sort of early.
Oof, that's early.
Yeah, just to grab maybe 10 or 15 minutes for, audio lessons or listening to podcasts before the kids woke up, before the day's chaos really began.
It sounds tough, definitely, but it's about finding those tiny, quiet windows, isn't it?
Exactly, those little pockets of time.
And it wasn't just the early morning, right? I think the source mentioned finding other small slots during the day, too.
Absolutely. We're talking really short bursts, 10, maybe 15 minutes max. The source gave examples like during a lunch break, or even, and this is pretty remarkable, integrating it while she was playing with her children.
Playing with kids while learning English. Okay, that sounds challenging. How did she actually weave it into everyday stuff like that?
Well, that's where it gets pretty fascinating. The source describes her integrating English into things she was already doing. So not adding a new task, but layering it on. Things like listening to English songs with her kids or watching short cooking videos in English on YouTube while she was making dinner. Or even just talking to herself in English while doing chores. Like the source mentions her literally narrating her actions, saying, "Now I am chopping vegetables."
Okay. Like a running commentary.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But the point is making English a part of life, not some extra thing that needs these big dedicated blocks of time, these little micro sessions, as the source calls them. they really add up.
That makes so much sense. It shifts the focus, doesn't it? It's
Right.
not about finding 2 hours you don't have. It's about using the small pockets you do have, even if they're just 5 or 10 minutes. But the source also touched on the emotional side, right? Feeling exhausted, maybe the fear of sounding silly or making mistakes. That's huge for language learners.
Oh, they definitely did. And that's such a critical point. Learning isn't just about logistics and finding time, it's also really psychological. The source describes how Alex, the co host, validates those very real feelings, the tiredness, the anxiety. That's important.
Validation, yeah.
And they discuss how Nina learns to sort of reframe mistakes, to see them as, natural steps in learning, not as failures,
Mm,
which is easier said than done, of course.
for sure. Did the source mention any practical tips for dealing with that side of things?
It did. It listed a few practical coping strategies shared on the podcast, like simple breathing exercises for managing anxiety or using mobile apps for quick, low pressure practice. Even things like jotting down quick notes or vocabulary in English on her phone. Little things that keep the connection going without feeling overwhelming.
And I remember the source emphasizing the positive reinforcement too, celebrating even tiny bits of progress.
Yes, that quote, every phrase learned is a step forward. That recognition, that celebration of small wins seems crucial for motivation, especially when time and energy are so limited.
So, if we kind of pull back and look at the bigger picture from the source, the core message seems pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think it is. It's essentially that consistent, even very short moments of practice, when they're woven into the fabric of your daily routine, they can yield real progress. And this holds true even when life is incredibly demanding, like Nina's situation as a single mom with 3 kids.
Right. So, for you, the listener, why should you care about the specifics of this particular English learning podcast? Well, because the strategies it highlights, they're pretty universal, aren't they? Finding time, integrating learning into a busy life, overcoming those mental hurdles that applies, whether you're learning a language, picking up coding, trying to exercise more, whatever it is.
Absolutely. These aren't just language learning tips, they're life hacking tips for busy people.
Yeah.
Which I suppose brings us to a final thought. If finding just 10 or 15 minutes, maybe a few times a day, can genuinely lead to progress in something as complex as learning a language under really challenging circumstances, well, what small, consistent action could you maybe take starting today towards something you want to achieve? What little bit could you weave into your day?